Welcome to Fix and Fly, the business podcast, which identifies common business issues for you to watch out for in your day-to-day business life. So tune in every fortnight where we speak to leaders of corporates to SMEs where you can implement their strategies into your business. I'm your host, Larissa Logan from Fixity, where we help turn businesses around. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the Fix and Fly podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So can you please tell our audience a little bit about your journey to Baduzzi and running such a great restaurant in Auckland?
Before we talk about Baduzzi, we have to talk about The Grove. So I fell in love with New Zealand on a backpacking trip in my early 20s. And that whole Tauranga Waiwai, like the country called me and I answered the call. So I came here, traveled through New Zealand, back in the 90s. Went back home, finished my degree, but I literally had New Zealand on the brain. If anyone asked me, where do you want to live? I'm like, I'm going to move to New Zealand. They're like, oh, that's random. Where's New Zealand? And I met my wife-to-be. I'm like, if this relationship's going to work out, you're going to have to join me on my quest, which is move to New Zealand. She's like, take me. I brought a net here. We traveled all around. And we moved here permanently over 20 years ago. We brought our cat from California. And with his little kitty passport, we came and we opened up the Grove restaurant, which was a fine dining restaurant, 20 years. It was amazing. It was like our firstborn, husband and wife team. We had two children that are now like 18 and 16. And it was wonderful, fine dining. We loved it. But I'm Italian-American from the East Coast, U.S., and the type of food that fed me as a child was my mother was a wonderful cook. My father was a wonderful cook. My grandmother was a wonderful cook. So memories of meals around the table is just kind of my DNA, Some people will talk about, remember in '76 we went to the Grand Canyon on a family holiday. We remember in '76, Mom made those raviolis with that rack of beef, and we have food memories as children growing up. So I always wanted to open up a little meatball place. It was always like, because we always had a pot of meatballs on the stove with, pieces of pork and sausage and blah, blah, blah. It was always on the stove. And my mother always made homemade pasta. We did all that sort of thing, preserving. Particularly, we had a big garden, and we did that way before Martha Stewart, and because we did it out of necessity. I had like a bunch of beautiful garden, lots of fruit trees, and we just ate really well. We're middle-class Americans, but we ate well. So that was my foundation. So I always wanted to open up a little meatball place. So the little meatball place became Baduzzi down in the Wynyard Quarter, which is, we do all the homemade pastas, of course, the meatballs. We have several varieties from crayfish, venison, beef, lamb. And, I'm really proud that we pretty much every morning, right now, first thing in the morning, we have a team in just cranking out fresh pastas, all different shapes every day. And, of course, our pride is we cook on an open fire a lot. So we cook everything from octopus to prawns wrapped with pancetta to some gangster T-bone steaks.
God, it's making me hungry.
Yeah, let's eat.
Yeah, exactly. And it really resonates with me with what you've said. So growing up in quite a large family, the best part of my day was always coming home in the evenings and having a family meal and just sharing food with each other and having that conversation.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so important these days to be able to do that, and especially with technology and devices, just putting those away and
Absolutely.
having a family meal.
My family, that was my introduction to hospitality. When you think about it, I mean, I'm lucky. I love what I do. I love food. I love wine. I love people. So every day it's like that's my stage. So people come in and, if I didn't have restaurants, I'd probably be a poker player because I think I'd read people. There's always the team leader. You have a group of like 10 people. You're like, okay, that's the team leader. That's the boss. That's okay. Or if you have 8 businessmen, you're like, we don't need menus. I'm a human menu. just tell me when to stop.
That always astounds me when you come in and you're able to take these menus without these orders without actually writing anything down.
I've been doing it a long time. I mean, I started off washing dishes in a restaurant. I was a short order cook, and I'm like, this is not fun. And then I became like a bartender, waiter, studied wine, became a sommelier, manager, and it then I got my own restaurant. So I've done everything.
But I think that's how you learn how an effective business works, by actually working in all of these different positions to make sure that you're being productive, you're being cost efficient, and you're actually mostly, being profitable and looking after your staff and your customers.
Yeah. I think there's this romance. People think like, oh, wouldn't it be great to own a restaurant? I think, during the America's Cup when it first came here, the viaduct, the formation of the viaduct, we had heaps of people that were accountants to be like, oh, let's open up our mechanics. Let's open up a restaurant. It's easy. We're a restaurant. We got people coming down. We got people. So we've seen, I think, in New Zealand, a lot of kind of different versions of hospitality and this restaurant. I mean, I've been here for over 20 years, so I've seen this evolution. It's been interesting. But I think we have a great team, my wife and I. So my wife is really good at the maths. And so she's doing all the payroll and the invoices. And we're a great team because even in the early days, someone's like, hey, will you do an interview? And Annette was always like, Michael, you're up, And so it was always, we have that yin and yang relationship for our business that works. So we're a husband and wife team, and we are kind of on the ground making decisions on the fly. If if the barometer of business things are happening, we're just like, oh, this is what we're going to do. Okay, let's do it and go.
And it's so great to be able to have that partnership and that clear delineation of kind of what are your key strengths and what are your wife's key strengths. And I think having someone with a strong finance focus is so important, especially considered where the hospitality sector has been, in the last kind of 12, 18 months. Do you want to give our audience a bit of an overview of where the sector is today?
So it's a bit struggle street, but you kind of can't linger and be like, yeah, I'm an optimist and I'm a fighter. And I think that we're fighting for the same stalk of celery in our industry, in many ways. A lot of our produce, all the excellence of New Zealand gets our export market is basic economics. If you can get more money from the United States or the Asian market, of course it's going to go. But then you're like, hang on, I kind of want those prawns and the tuna and the things that we get. So all the A grade stuff goes, and we want to keep it. So if you want to have like matangi, you have some artisan producers. And matangi beef is a great example in Hawke's Bay. They just won 2025 outstanding producer in the whole country. Incredible product. They're different. We're the supermarkets and the big boys, in the banks, and they're making money, and they're putting the squeeze on the little guys. I think they're only harvesting a couple animals a week, beasts a week, and butchering them, and then in the winter none, and they have a premium product. So if I'm passing that, if I want that product, I have to pass that cost on to the customer. So I know in New Zealand, you sometimes just get frustrated with some just great products. You want to showcase and you want to nurture these artisan producers. And they have their struggles and we have our struggles. So I think with the food that you actually get is a struggle. We are blessed that the artisan producers find us because they know that everything from honey. I have this lady that kind of came through the door and she's like, I have this great Manuka honey, and it was a great price and it was a great product. I'm like, yeah, so I see her every couple of weeks and she's bringing me some honey. I've had a farmer that walked in the door once and she's like, I have some horseradish. Do you guys want some horseradish? And I'm like, oh, it was fresh and gorgeous. Like, yeah, give me the horseradish. Give me that. And then she turns out to grow my courgette flowers. So every spring I get hundreds of courgette flowers from this woman, Little Berry Farm. And she's just an amazing grower just north of us, So yeah, the struggle with produce, you have a struggle with humans. You know, we have, as we were mentioning earlier, I believe our greatest resource is our young minds, and we are losing them to the overseas market. They just simply money and sunshine and kind of optimism, and you know that's frustrating. So we want to attract people to our industry, which is also an industry. The hospitality industry in New Zealand is one that you're like, oh, you're waiting tables. What went wrong? What happened to you? Did you just get out of prison? What happened? You're waiting tables. You messed up. Whereas in America, I come from the culture of like, you know, a waiter, you're like, you know, let me guide you through your evening, and it's... Exactly,
and I feel like we don't value that in New Zealand. If you go overseas, right, and you're in Italy or France or Spain, and you have someone who's maybe in their 50s or 60s, and they're your waiter, they're actually telling you about the region, about the wine, about the food, and there's so much history, and it's so rich. And I feel like we don't value that the same way in New Zealand. But you want to have an experience.
Yeah.
You want to, you want to have an experience, and you want to learn.
Yeah, we're storytellers.
Yeah, exactly.
We're storytellers, and I know we live in the age of the celebrity chefs, and then the chefs, open the restaurants. This is great. It's, great. Chefs, they can be businessmen too, and they have many hats, and they're creatives. But I think the front of house guys get kicked to the curb a little bit. We have some wonderful bartenders. You're seeing a lot of rock star bartenders. You're seeing a lot of sommeliers, people that are studying wine, especially overseas. They're becoming like the latest rock stars in our industry. But a great waiter that has the intuition to read the room and read the table and guide you through your night. Yeah, it has changed since I first arrived in New Zealand, over 20 years ago.
Do you have any examples?
Oh yeah, like it was really quite funny. So when I lived in San Francisco for a long time. That was my culinary university. I worked for some amazing restaurateurs, some amazing sommeliers, some amazing chefs. It taught me a lot, San Francisco. And so we'd have like someone from Australia, New Zealand, and San Francisco working. And how Americans are like, oh my God, where are you from? Oh, where's New Zealand? And oh, here's some money. Here's some money.
It's a state in Australia.
Yeah, it's exactly. Is it in Europe? Where is it? And so, a New Zealander that would come in America and they would hear your accent, it's like you're just gonna make some tips. You're gonna make some money. You're gonna meet some people. And I knew this and I saw this, so I'm like, we packed up our stuff. We moved to New Zealand. I'm like, New Zealand, they're gonna love me. Wait till they go, okay, this is gonna be great. And I remember I had this job at O'Connell Street Bistro. It was my first job in New Zealand. A great restaurant that's no longer there. Had a wonderful wine list. Anyway, I rocked up to my first table, these two Kiwis, and I'm like, hi, let me recommend, why are you recommending the fish? Is the fish bad? The fish is bad, isn't it? I don't trust you, American guy. Why are you talking to me? It was just so crazy. I'm like, yeah, I didn't get it.
That is what makes it special when you come to your restaurant, because you make people feel seen and you make them feel special as soon as they come through the door. Like you're having conversations with them. Every time I come there for dinner, you are interested in me and what I'm doing, and it's you're doing that with all of your customers.
Yeah, well, I'm big and if you work for me, I have a lot of rules, but like one is like hellos and goodbyes. I don't know if I'm a romantic, but I'm big on hello and goodbye, and I tell my staff like, you welcome people in and you thank them for coming in. It's one of the foundations of my values as a businessman,
And you can see that, right? You can see that. So how do you retain these staff when we're seeing 30 to 40,000 net migration loss across the Tasman to other parts of the globe? How are you retaining the key staff in your business to keep them delivering this top quality service?
I think my role is to inspire. If you're not getting inspired, you're going to be stagnant and you're going to want to move on. And I also think you have pillars in your business, and you'll have, the chef is a pillar. sous chef, and your sommelier, your management team, your front of house pillars. For me, I recognize the pillars, and I just want to do everything I can to inspire them. And some of it is delegating. I had to let go. I'm a control perfectionist, and I was a sommelier for a long time. And writing a wine list is like writing a book. Writing a love story is writing a wine list. And I had to hand that off. One, I'm kind of busy. Two, I don't drink anymore. It's like my choice, my lifestyle choice. But young guys are stoked that they could, meet the different people, the different producers and winemakers, and go to different wine regions. And so delegating has been one of those things to empower people to do some of these jobs, which it's a win for me too, because then I can focus on some other things. And, my priorities are changing now that I'm getting older, and it's spending more time with my family and, with 2 teenage children and my wife. And, so it's a win both ways.
So the hospitality sector has seen significant distress over the last few years. In the work that I do, I've worked with a number of different establishments. Some of the issues I've seen are obviously around cost pressures, not passing on prices to customers, not even understanding what the cost is for each item on the menu, staffing. What's the key challenge that you're seeing in the sector at the moment?
I think there's this anxiety that everyone's feeling. And when you kind of have this heightened anxiety, there sometimes becomes this ignorance and maybe this kind of knee-jerk reactions that happen. And that's one thing about hospitality. It's like, so sometimes people will be coming in and I'm like, look, you just don't know what sort of day this person's having. And people will almost take it out on their waiter, and they don't mean to. There was just something in the news recently about $100 steak in a pub in Sydney, and everyone was like, it's a pub, it's $100 steak. Well, and everyone was like, cancel them, don't go see them. And I was like, well, hang on. Let me just figure out more. So it was actually the steak they were providing was from an artisan producer, Little Joe's, and they have all their costs. And it was a very high fat level. It was a luxurious item. And so they had other steaks. They could have a burger. They can have something cheaper. And for me, it's like I have a bottle of wine that's $100 on the wine list, but I also have $1,000 bottle of wine. But you don't have to, if you don't want to have you don't see the value of having $1,000 bottle, don't order it. Is the $1,000 bottle of wine 10 times better than the $100 bottle of wine? I don't know. That argument doesn't matter. But you kind of have to have it. You have the $1,000 bottle of wine, and I do sell them, and people come in and they're stoked that it's there. If you talk to somebody about a mountain bike, you can see the difference. A $5,000 mountain bike and a $25,000 mountain bike. I can't tell the difference, but the shocks and the rear shock, and then someone else will be like, "Oh my God, it's a universe difference," and you'd be like, "I never spent $25,000 on a mountain bike, no way," but there's people that do.
The value is in the eye of the consumer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so what advice would you give to hospitality service providers who are having challenges at the moment and are finding it hard to decide on whether to keep the doors open or to close them?
Well, knowledge is power. Now you want to have. You always have to train your staff because you're always having a new wave of people that are coming in. So training is paramount for those people that are like, stay the course and believe in your product and believe in yourself. And yeah, it's a battle, it's a battle out there. And there's times that I'm lucky because I'm in the trenches. So, there's always this thing, you'll have a horrible Friday night service where you're like, God, that went wrong. And then you have a kind of a briefing and you go, okay, let's not do that again. We learn. The biggest failure is you don't learn from your mistakes. So you kind of want to just guide your staff. But then on the Saturday night, you have this awesome epic service and you meet new people. I get invited to barbecues and I've met so many people through the industry. So yeah, just believe in yourself, stay the course. When you do work hard, it is rewarded, I think.
What's your view on the likes of Uber Eats and these delivery
Parasites. No,
So
it's brutal, man. I remember during COVID, I was like, look, Uber Eats, I was like, look, this is an opportunity for you to reach out to restaurateurs like myself. And they were just like, no.
they
I
just take
delivered.
too
I
much
became
of
an
a
Uber
cut.
driver. But yeah, I was delivering.
How great is that? So you're
People love
actually
that.
delivering. Oh my God.
They did love
Yeah.
that. I was rocking up with my mask and like, oh wow, this is funny. And I did, I was like, here I am, fighting away. But no, I think in some cases, whatever your product is, look, we're all allowed to make money. I think we should all be able to have a sustainable practice, but there's times with this Uber Eats, it's hard enough in our industry in New Zealand. You're shaving it here, cutting it there. I think it does dilute and water down a really great product.
And I see there's another change now that's kind of filtered through the industry over the last maybe 12, 18 months of if you have a booking now, you now need to put in your credit card details, and there's like a $50 fee if you don't turn up.
Yeah, I like that. That we implemented it at one stage, and then we found I don't think we had the right format so people could navigate. So we're working on that. I think you need to have accountability. There's so many times that we'll have a table of 4. You'll have no-show. Nobody wants to have a no-show, and I think we're a busy restaurant. And so some people will have many reservations at different places. And we're not the type of place to overbook because I want to make sure that when you come in, your table's ready, But yeah, it's a punch in the guts.
It's real tough because you've purchased the food,
Yeah.
right? You've worked out your roster, capacity issues, tables, who's sitting where,
Yep.
and you've put all of this effort and thought into it, and then you have a table that doesn't turn up, and that's
We'll
tough.
have a table of 20, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're only 10," and you're like, "Okay, that's like half of this area I could have sat." I don't think people understand how much it actually does really hurt. And so if it's a no-show, or if you say you have this time, and I don't want to take money from you, but it makes more like if people know they're going to get charged if they cancel, they're going to make sure that, okay, they give ample time, they'll follow the rules and be like, hey, just so you know, something come up and we're going to have to cancel. Okay, great. Thanks. Freed up the table and we can sell it.
Are there some other kind of challenges that the hospitality sector is facing at the moment? Maybe if we're looking at different regions around New Zealand. So if we look to Auckland, there's been a number of high-profile restaurants this year that have gone into liquidation, that have been maybe trading for 30 years. Some of those are around some of the largest infrastructure projects in Auckland, like the City Rail Link, and there just hasn't been that thoroughfare of people being able to access those restaurants. So
Yeah, I can tell you from experience. I mean, when we had the Grove restaurant, we were surrounded by construction forever. There was always something, from the remodeling of St. Patrick's Square to the church to the CRL to a hotel being built right next to it. I mean, it was always something. So that was always a battle. The good thing was the Grove has won awards and accolades over the years, and something good would always come. And so it was a destination restaurant. But I saw so many cafes, little coffee shops and whatnot just go under in that neighborhood of the city. Baduzzi, we had that little footbridge
oh yes,
that connects the viaduct to the Wynyard Quarter. That was brutal. It was out for a year.
So you saw a decline from that?
We were down 35%. A lot of the bars were down 80%. And that was a real kick in the guts because, I mean, I'm not in construction, but I'm like, sure, Kiwis, we can figure out a way to kind of lower the bridge and make the bridge go. So we had so many tourists that they couldn't realize to walk around. It was an extra whatever, and it was raining, and they just would just say, hey, we're just so for over a year, that infrastructure that I don't know who or why, but they're like, okay, there's 3 parts coming. 1 part's from Germany, 1 part's from China, 1 part's from Italy, and it's coming. I'm like, is it coming over on a rowboat? I don't understand what's taking so long. And so yeah, it hurt. It hurt us. We felt the pain. Look, there's a lot of I think Auckland is like this teenage boy with a large head and long arms with a pimply face. He's going to be handsome someday. I really believe it.
But how long?
But
how long do we have to wait?
That black swan, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, there is. It's brutal, man. There's a lot of construction all over the city.
Do you have any advice for these business owners that are currently in this situation? I mean, what can you do?
I've been trying to do every angle. You know, we have social media. A lot of people, they want to know if they know your story, because we're just like, let's celebrate the Wynyard Quarter. Like let's have a block party. Let's have a neighborhood block party. Let's get everyone together. And so we do some collabs, like for example, with the Park Hyatt. They're adapting. They had their little shed out in front, that really cute white shed with the orange roof. And they had a little collab with Giappo gelatos there. And then in the wintertime, they're doing jacket potatoes. So I went to the guy, I was like, look, take our meatball and smash it in your jacket potato. And they're like, that's a great idea. And so we did this collab, and we sold the Baduzzi lamb meatball at the Park Hyatt's jacket potato. And you kind of have to, I think you have to just think about how can you get like-minded brands together, and so we can achieve some wins.
So coming together as a community to try to overcome these challenges.
Yeah. That's important, I think.
And so do you have any cool stories about like who's the craziest person that you have served at your restaurants?
Oh, wow. Well, the biggest compliment, Marco Pear-White was here, arguably the first celebrity chef. He's a legend. We love Marco. And I had a privilege of interviewing him on stage when he was visiting for one of the food festivals. And, you know, he knew I had a couple restaurants. He wasn't really into fine dining. He's like, I want to come to Baduzzi. So Marco Pear-White came to Baduzzi, and he had a vongole, and he loved it, and he came back the next day. So Marco Pear-White dined at Baduzzi 2 nights in a row and had the same dish. So I was just like, I was pretty stoked.
What was the dish?
So clams.
Oh, okay.
Vongole. It's like a fresh clams, like cockles and garlic, chili, fresh pasta. Real simple dish. And so that was probably one of my proudest moments. That's a big compliment. But we've had a lot. We've had celebrities. I've had Nigella in. I've had a really funny story. Eva Longoria, she was like one of the housewives.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Eva Longoria.
Eva
Longoria. She's a real beautiful, gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
So she came into the Grove one night with her husband, and she had an amazing time. She was like, oh my God, this restaurant's so amazing. And she was so like personable and chatting to me. And I was like, oh, I have another restaurant in the Baduzzi. She's like, oh, I'm coming tomorrow night. I'm coming to Baduzzi tomorrow night, and I want you and your wife to join me for dinner.
Oh, wow.
She's like, I want you to join me and my husband for dinner. And so I'm like, okay. So I went home and told my wife Annette, I'm like, Eva Longoria wants you to come in and have dinner with us.
What did she say?
She's like, I'm not coming.
Oh my goodness.
She's like, I'm not coming. I'm like, I gotta kind of be there with Eva Longoria and have dinner with her. So it was her husband, Eva Longoria, and myself, the 3 of us at that really nice round table. It was a super busy restaurant, and she's gorgeous. And everyone, I think I got some street credit. People were like, you're having dinner with Eva Longoria. Damn.
I love that. I love that.
And she was, I'll be honest, don't tell her I told you this. She was a little bit messy when she ate. You know, it was like a bowl of this maltaglia. It's this duck pasta dish we have. It's like with duck with the noodles and stuff. And she was having such a great time. She was looking so beautiful. And she grabbed like a spoon and fork and grabbed the noodles and brought it over to her plate, but didn't like pick up the plate and bring it and put the noodles in. She grabbed it and grabbed the noodles, and a string of noodles went across the table onto her plate. I'm like, oh
Were
my
you just
God.
like this? Were you like,
No, I was like, you're so sloppy. You're so beautiful, but you're sloppy. I think this is great. I just saw this.
so down to earth?
A real human.
Yeah,
Bless
that's
her.
great. And then how about, do you ever get celebrities in town and they're like, oh, can you come and cook for me at this place or that place? Or
Well, no, I don't get celebrities that ask me to go cook at places, but we do a lot of, The Grove at home is a great brand that we did way before COVID. We would go and cook at people's houses. We've gone to like wineries down in Queenstown we got invited to go to Hong Kong to a food festival, or we'll do someone's birthday party in Waiheke. So I got my little mobile meatball truck, and so somebody will be having a Christmas party in Parnell with lawn bowls, and I'll rock up with my little meatball truck. So I actually really love doing this out catering stuff because for me, it's like we celebrate excellence, and I love when you can provide almost, it's like you're at the restaurant and it's almost even better because you're on the beach.
oh, it's amazing.
And we've gone on people's boats and we've, rocked up at a beach and grilled some crayfish, on charcoal and next thing you know, you're like, oh, and then there's this. And people are like, what? Where did you get that meat slicer? I'm like, oh, it's just a little something I brought.
And I think these are really great options for business owners that might be having financial challenges to look at other revenue streams to be able to generate that revenue potentially if they are in a business at the moment that is surrounded by orange road cones and construction.
Yeah.
It's a...
Yeah, that's a great way to reach out to people to know you have another, arrow in your quiver and it's actually a lot of fun. And a lot of people, they like actually having something in their home. They have a beautiful home. They just remodeled it. I booked in Westmere. I went to this person's house. I go, oh, look, I heard you do out catering. I was like, oh, look, we write the menu actually when I come to your house. So I come to your house and I see what you have. And I'm like, oh, look, I can bring my little charcoal barbecue and we can cook there. And then do you like raw fish? Do you like oysters? Do you like crayfish? You don't like crayfish. Okay, you like meats. And we write the menu and I'm like, oh, I have this gorgeous meat slicer, a little Burkle meat slicer that I can bring, and it's great. So you just do like little cured meats, and you're slicing it to order, and you make a little cured meat stand, and you just you turn their home into this little. It's a party, and it's great food, and then they're in their comfort of their own home, and we just do a hit and run, and we're out.
Oh, that's so lovely. And then when you're coming up with new menu items, how do you, from a profitability perspective, how do you go out and actually cost that?
It's easy to make something really, really tasty, but can you make money? And I've had many chefs work for me over the years. And it's just funny. They're like, the art of a great chef is, you take something for a price, you jazz it up, and you charge more, and you make it amazing. You just and you also honor the ingredients. And so you want to minimize your waste, but we should minimize our waste anyway because we want to be on this planet as long as we can. So we just just can't get the prime cut, throw the rest out, be like, here you go, give me $50. It's great. Like I was mentioning before, we have beautiful piece of snapper, and they say that we only use 30% of the average snapper, which is crazy when you think about it. And they get that prime, beautiful fillet of snapper, skin on, put that to the side. But then you have this beautiful frame, and we put it over our charcoal barbecue, and we hang it, and the bones kind of get roasted. And then we'll put that in a pot with some carrots, celery, onions, and make this gorgeous little stock that has this wonderful umami and smoky roasted situation.
Yummy, yeah.
And then at the end, so then we'll kind of sear the actual beautiful fillet with a little fennel salad, and then drizzle this broth that's been roasted. It takes several days the hero is the broth, And so a great chef will be like, some chefs would just throw out the frame, but actually you're not only utilizing it, but you're making the dish better. We're seeing a rise of kind of using secondary cuts, which is great. You want to use, everything from the nose to the tail. And, we should be, doing more of this stuff. I mean, I love like a veal jus, where you get the bones and it's overnight and, it just heats up the whole restaurant when you come in the morning.
So it's just maximizing all of your inputs to generate that revenue and really thinking about it as opposed to taking that fillet, throwing that out.
I even do this. You know how they started in Auckland to have the veggie compost thing. So I'm lucky. I live in Point Chev, and I have this awesome composting pest-free situation, and it's beautiful. It's like this cedar slat thing. In and of itself, it looks beautiful. So I'll be at the restaurant with those veggie bins, and we'll take our vegetable waste. And I'm the compost guy, and we'll take egg shells and all that stuff that's left over, and I'll bring it to my house in Point Chev, and then I'll layer it with the carbon, the brown stuff, and the nitrogen, the green stuff, and I'll layer it up. And I make some gangster compost.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to see my compost.
Amazing.
I'm really proud of my compost. And I have a bunch of lemon trees. So I'm composting my lemon tree, and then it's great. And I'm bringing all these lemons into the restaurant that we preserve.
So are you growing a lot of the food?
Not a lot of it. I grow some
of
of it. I can't grow, but I have some, when my lemons are going. I'll bring stuff into the restaurant, like my oregano would bolt. I just chop it and put some oregano around it, tie it, and dry it, and then it's just beautiful, dried oregano.
What's the best piece of business advice you have received?
Okay, that's a good question. There's different philosophies. Some people will buy a big brand and then try to improve it, like a luxury brand, try to improve it. But I was told, you want to buy something broken and fix it. Something that has like low value and you make it high value through hard work and passion and vision and et cetera. I don't know. Is that good advice?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think that's great. So it's almost coming in when the market's low, getting a bargain. I guess you need to have the expertise to be able to turn that business around, to be able to increase the value in that business. Yeah,
I remember someone saying that early on when I was making my transition. I was like, I love the industry, and then I was looking for spaces. And somebody said that to me, and that was 25 years ago, and it stuck in my head. So that resonates with me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Fix and Fly podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me. It was really fun.
Yeah, and I think that our audience will take away a lot from today, so thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, see you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoy the Fix and Fly podcast, make sure you like, comment and subscribe and share with anyone you think will find this useful. We look forward to seeing you next time.